Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we have the new and improved fursuit head making tutorial. Now this is going to be a series of tutorials that go between a cougar and a fusky pre-made, and these are going to be my techniques, so feel free to change anything or tweak anything, and remember there's no right or wrong way to make fursuit heads, so enjoy the video. I have a bucket head base tutorial on my primary channel, so right here I'm just going to start with the bucket head base. You'll see I'm just making it a bit more ergonomical, trimming up some pieces, and this will lead me to get, the results that I want for where I want the eyes, where I want the mouth, and where I want the nose. The Mannequinn head base that I use is from Dream Vision Creations. This is their 24-inch. I like to make my suits 24 inches around the head because the average head size is 22 inches, so I like to have that little bit of extra room when making my suits. I've had people ask me why I do this 2D drawing for the fursuit head base, even though it's not something I actually use in, dimension, and I don't scale it up. This is just to give me a rough idea of where I want to place things on the head. So while it is 2D, my brain works in 3D, so if I see it on paper, I can translate it into what I want it to look like 3D wise. So does it actually serve a purpose of giving me the pieces that I need? Yes. But at the end of the day, I'm the one who's going to be trimming them into the pieces that I want. So a lot of people have definitely told me you should just get one of those electrical knives, but personally I like scissors better because I have a lot more control over what I'm doing and control over the shape that I want. Yes, get one of those if you're cutting out large chunks of things, but I'm very rarely cutting out large chunks to where I need a tool like that. But yeah, I really like scissors, and I have a wide range of scissors that helps me get the types of cuts that I want. So here I'm going to show you a bit more in depth of how I trim things, and yes, I trim a lot. So trimming is the biggest factor of getting the shapes that you want, especially with scissors. So as you can see, all I do here is I push down and I take little pieces of the foam. You'll definitely be able to see what pieces you want to take off. So if there's a little, bumpy parts of it or stuff like that, those are the pieces you want to aim for when using this method. What I'm doing here is making the guide for where I want the mouth to be and where I want the fursuit nose to be, as well as the nose of where it's going to be for the wearer. So when we made that little nose guide on the fursuit, that's very important to where the muzzle is going to go, because that's going to create the best amount of ventilation for whoever's going to be wearing the suit. So back to more trimming. This is going to be the guide, so you'll notice a common trend. I just like to make a lot of guides. I don't necessarily need them, and the more you do cutting and the more you do, stuff like this, you'll just get a feel of how it's supposed to be. But I just want to show you, I make a lot of guides of how I like to trim things, where I'm going to trim things, because it just helps give you an idea of, okay, this is the base of what the piece is going to look like, and I'm going to be the one who's going to shape it into the final product. And this is also important in terms of how you want your piece to look. So a lot of my suits are very cutesy and rounded, while other people's suits may look a bit more sharper and stuff like that. So depending on how you want the suit, your guides might be a lot different from what you're seeing here. So if you're following this guide, your stuff is going to be a bit more cutesy and rounded. A lot of what you'll notice when making suits, my method is I just like to defer back to the 2D models that I make. So I'm taking this little thing right here that I made at the very beginning, and I'm going to use it to, model what I want for the side of the face to look like. This is, just a common theme of making any suit. You're just gonna defer back to your pattern. Like fursuit heads, personally, for me, they're all unique patterns. They're all going to be different. I don't have like a set base that I make. I don't have anything. I go strictly off of how the reference sheet is going to look for the character, so that you get, the closest match to what you want for your character, while still being in my style. One thing that's important to me is definitely symmetry, and that's just how my brain works. So what I do is I'll glue a piece of one side, leave it, and then go to the other side and then make sure that it lines up with that side. So I'll just keep going back and forth to make sure that each side is lining up the way that I want it to. So that 2D model that we made at the beginning is basically going to be your first layer. This is where you're going to move on to making your second layer, and I like to just use the pieces that I already had and reshape them to basically downsize the layer of what the shape I want is going to be. So this can be very different for whatever animal you're trying to make. So the second layer is just going to be how thick, the face is going to get, and then that third layer, if needed, is going to be, a little nitpicky stuff that's going to make the type of animal that you're going for. Here I'm going for a feline, so obviously I'm going to show you what it's going to look like, how I do my felines. The cutting process is going to be very important on your second layer, because this is going to give you, what you want in terms of the height of the cheeks, where you want the eyebrows, and just the shaping of like blending everything together. So this is very important on how you blend. So of course, this is just me showing you how I blend my stuff. So basically I'm just taking off the edges and making them a bit more rounded. And what I'm going to do with that first layer is blend it into the second layer. So I like to start with the second layer first and then go down to the first layer is what I'm doing right here. This is just a good rule of thumb. You're going to make mistakes, so if you happen to trim too much off, just remember you can put more foam on to get the shape that you want. Same thing if you think your base it doesn't have enough cheek or doesn't have enough foam, just put some more on and again trim to your liking. So, leave room for error. So what I think a lot of people don't realize is that your end product is going to look exactly like your base. So if you think it is too big, it is going to look too big in the end. If you think it looks too small, it's going to look too small in the end. Your base is crucial for your final product, and especially when you're getting into the patterning process. So, just take that extra time to really sit with it and see if you like it. Most of my mouths are patterned with 1-inch foam. That being said, sometimes it depends on the species, so since this is a puma, a lot of big cats have a stronger jawline, so I put an extra 1/2-inch piece of foam on this jaw because, again, it's a puma. I wanted to have a bit more thickness and be closer to the species that I'm going for. So 2 things when placing the jaw. 1, make sure it doesn't jut out too much because, you don't want your piece to look like it has an underbite, so trim is needed. And 2, make sure to adjust the lower jaw to what angle you want the mouth to sit at. So obviously a lot of my characters just have a large smile. So where I put it, I'm placing it to where it lines up with the smile line that I want. Once I have the bottom jaw on, this is where I'll go back to the muzzle and start shaping it to the shape of more of a feline and or whatever species that I'm going for. With the first layer, everything looked a bit boxy, so obviously you want to go back and make it look as ergonomical as possible, and again, just do a lot of blending. This is where I'm starting the third layer. The third layer is going to just really be all sorts of random pieces that you're going to use to fill in spots that you don't really like, that don't really translate into whatever your animal you're going for. This is where you want to extend the cheek. This is where you want to put a nose bridge on. This is just every other piece that's going to help really solidify the animal that you're going for and enhance the blending process. Remember, we now have a membership program, so you'll be able to see these videos 2 days early. You'll have priority replies, you'll have members only tutorials and exclusive live streams, as well as community posts. So if you guys are interested in that kind of stuff, please feel free to go over and sign up. The video memberships are aimed toward people who prefer video content rather than post content. If you are interested in post content, video content, and art perks, I highly recommend going over to our Patreon. So at this part of the process, you've moved on to the ears. Obviously, it depends on what species you're making, but all in all, the pattern process is going to be when you cut out the whole piece, and then you cut out the inner ear, and then you shape it. So once you put on the ears, go back and do a little trimming if needed, and you'll be done with the first part of your fursuit head. In the next video, I'm going to be using the Fusky to show you how I made that base and doing a little bit of different techniques that'll give you more of a canine base rather than a feline base. Hope you found this video educational. Remember to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!